What does the Bible really say about how good or bad sex is or isn't?
Name something the Bible teaches us about sex. Oh, no, I'm not going to do that. That's from the devil. You should never have sex.
Sex is AAA amazing, Jeeve. I am ready to do it with anybody, anytime. Many Christians and churches either shy away from talking about sex at all, don't say that, or smother the conversation with prevention and avoidance and abstinence strategies. I can't say anything against those abstinence before marriage or purity strategies, since the Bible does make it clear that sex outside of marriage is not a good thing. That includes sex before marriage and sex while you're married with someone who you're not married to. But that's not all that the Bible says about sex. The Bible supports the idea that sex is good. And I don't just mean that it feels good. God created a naked man and woman, and he put them in the garden, and he gave them, among the few things they had to do, he gave them this command in Genesis chapter 1:28. It says, God blessed them and said to them, the male and the female, be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth. And there's no way they could be fruitful and fill the earth other than having sex. But the Bible also supports the idea that sex is good for pleasure. Read what things like Proverbs chapter 5 verse 19 says. A loving doe, a graceful deer, may her breast satisfy you always. May you ever be intoxicated with her love. This is talking to a husband and encouraging him to rejoice in the wife of his youth. Being satisfied, being intoxicated, those are pleasure words, not just sex for procreation. In Deuteronomy chapter 24 verse 5, it highlights the Mosaic law that newly married husbands were not allowed to be sent to war. They were supposed to stay home and please their wives, bring happiness to their wives. There's an entire book of the Bible, Song of Solomon, that was written that just outlines a woman's love, like, and lust for Solomon, and Solomon's love, like, and lust for her as his bride. Please read 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verses 1 through 5. Here is what verse 5 says. Do not deprive each other of sex, except perhaps by mutual consent and for a time, so that you may devote yourselves to prayer. Then come together again for sex, so that Satan will not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. He doesn't say come together again for sex so that you can procreate and have babies. He's saying come together because of your lack of self-control and because of all the temptation that is out there to have pleasure outside of your marriage. You should be pleasing one another sexually in marriage, which brings us to the third thing that the Bible supports when it comes to sex, and that is that sex is for partnership. Look back in Genesis chapter 2 verses 18 through 25, and you'll see that when God created Adam, God saw Adam and said that it's not good for him to be alone, and he created Eve, and God set up the relationship in marriage. This is something that the New Testament writers refer back to all the time when they're talking about sex. Adam and his wife were both naked and they felt no shame. There is no shame to having sex in marriage. Listen, the shame, the pain, and the problems come when we separate procreation from partnership or pleasure from partnership. Procreation without partnership, pleasure without partnership has the potential to cause the most problems and the most pain. I've learned the hard way in my own life and also observed in the lives of others that it's just better to do it God's way. That we make sure that whoever we procreate with, whoever we decide to enjoy the pleasure of sex with, there's a partnership there, and that partnership is marriage. You may be thinking that I've had a lot of sex and I got no problems, no pains. I've procreated and I have children everywhere and I got no problems, no pains. I've had plenty of pleasure without the partnership and I've had no problems and no pains. And if you're saying that or you're thinking that, I would only ask you to think outside of yourself and think about how your procreation and the pleasure that you've enjoyed without the right partnership have not only impacted you, but also others. My challenge to you is that from now on, whatever your procreation goals or your pleasure desires are, that you find partnership with the right person in marriage. And that is the lesson learned from what the Bible really says about how good or bad sex is.